Good day to everybody. My name is Ville Rauma. I'm from Fingersoft, and I'm talking about building effective and lasting game development teams. Um, and I've been in the games industry now for professionally for over 15 years. I stopped counting at some point, so that's long enough. Uh, and I've been in a lot of different roles. I started as a programmer, uh, kind of back-end stuff mostly, then team lead, and then also stint as an entrepreneur, bankrupted one game company with friends, and then also COO, CEO stuff in the past, uh, let's say 6 years or something like that. Over the career so far, I've been kind of involved in building 8 game teams so far, of which 6 are still ongoing, and then several infrastructure and organizational teams. So kind of like maybe a lot of experience from this area. And currently we have 6 game development teams at Fingersoft. And then under me, kind of like, well, it's not that good. I don't like the under stuff, but basically I'm helping 6 game teams, QA, live ops, and then I have 2 directors as well helping. I didn't actually include a company slide, so if you don't know about Fingersoft, we're kind of like based in Oulu. We also have a Helsinki office. We have 110 people right now, completely owned by founders and employees. No kind of outside funding or investors. And our kind of main titles are Hill Climb Racing and Hill Climb Racing 2, which have accumulated over 2 billion downloads to date. One of the most kind of like downloaded games on the planet. So done decently well, I guess. So today the topics are, firstly, of course, what are the hallmarks of a great team? Then what are some of the principles to live by? So kind of like underlying things I'd like to consider first. Then understanding the problems. There are various kinds of situations you can run into with kind of building and maintaining game teams. So kind of like first find out what you're dealing with. And then the building itself, the practicalities, and also rules to live by there as well. And then I always like these, so some mistakes from the past decade or so. So let's first talk about the hallmarks. This is a specific one to us. This depends on what kind of company you have or you're building. But we at Fingersoft like to kind of build this autonomous game development team. So what it means for us is that they have very high degree of ability to decide like how they build their games, kind of what kind of teams they want to build, and of course about the product, what kind of product it will be, and kind of the vision for the product. All these things are kind of like in there for us, and kind of this is just something, of course, every company have to figure out for themselves, but we are building, we call it more like an ecosystem of game development teams, and not just a team or not just a company. So we want to think this in a broader terms. Then of course, trust and psychological safety. This cannot be underlined more, because of course the better people trust each other, the more they feel free to say what they think, and they have their ideas considered, the better the team will be. Respect and empathy. We have respect as one of the kind of key values of Fingersoft, and it's interpreted in the most broad sense. So it means that we respect the players, of course. We respect all our kind of colleagues, all of the people we work with, anybody, anywhere. We respect you, and we try to treat you respectfully and also empathetically. So kind of like these are extremely important in building a good culture. Then adaptability and humility. So this is about being able to kind of like change the team's behavior, the team's goals, the team's anything that's happening, because things change all the time. Games are extremely difficult things to build because of the kind of partly, I guess you could say, like artistic meets technical sides, and it's getting more complex all the time. Like the previous talk was showcasing some of the kind of like complexities in building games. And humility is of course important, because it means that you are willing to accept that you can get better. If you don't feel like that, then I don't know where you are, but I don't think anybody on this planet is a completely ready person. Then anti-fragility. This is like, there's a good book called Anti-Fragile, but basically the idea is that you don't just withstand damage, withstand issues and problems, you get better. So extremely important idea is that we always think about problems in the context of what can we learn here and how can we get better. And then, of course, curiosity, continuous learning. If you're not curious, if you're not willing to want to learn what's happening, then again, it's very difficult to learn anything. And then continuous learning, of course, comes with that. And then naturally good communication and collaboration. Now, I would argue that it's impossible to have all these things be perfect in any team, but I believe these are kind of the things that you should always work on. Of course, you don't need to work on all the things at once, but like whatever is the main thing to work on right now. Now, before we go to the next part, I like this kind of bit from Risto Silasma's book. It's Paranoid Optimist, I believe is the name. But the good news is no news is bad news, and bad news is good news. This is kind of like a brain twister if you haven't seen it before. But the idea is that as a leader, if you get good news, that is not a big deal. It's just something that happens along the way. If you don't get any news, what's happening in the company, in your team, that's really bad. That means that somebody is not telling you what's going on. And then bad news is good news. So it means that whenever you get bad news, it's an opportunity to start doing something about it, start fixing something, start making something better. So I really like this. Okay, so then about the principles. Of course, great team is always more than the sum of its parts. It should be obvious, of course. But teams are made of people, so be prepared for people problems. Especially like myself coming from technical background, it was extremely difficult to kind of get my mind into a place where you want to deal with people's problems. You cannot build good teams if you're not prepared to do that. So kind of like something to think about. Then build everything on the premise of change. So what this is of course people like safety, security, stability, these kinds of things. But in business, in building anything, and especially in games, everything changes all the time. So if you're building something that kind of you tell people this is here forever to last, I think it's a bad idea. It's better to go with this kind of like mentality where, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to try this out, see how things go, version 0.1, whatever you like to call it, but kind of like premise of change. Hiring has to be done right. Good event to have this point. Take it seriously. It's where you make the most mistakes, which have the biggest implications and cause the most problems if you make mistakes in hiring. So take it very seriously. Expectation management is critical. So this is about, I'm going to have more about this part, but basically setting the expectations, understanding what you are going to do, why you're doing it, and then kind of like also communicating that, having all the people who are working on the thing understand what we are aiming for, what the thing is. And every team will be unique. Every person is unique. So if you have two people building a team, then or in a team, then it's going to be unique even more, and that goes on. So the building of the team is going to be organic. So it means that every situation is different. I've tried, I can tell you, and there's no way to standardize or to do things in just one way to build a great team. Every situation is different. And then this is from the old spacefaring times. Don't panic. Things will go wrong. You will feel like this is the end of the world. Sleep on it, talk to people. Usually there's a way to kind of like make things better. All right. And then going to the kind of expectation management side, understanding the problem. Now, there's all kinds of situations that can happen when you're building a team, and you kind of like have to think about it in that context. So Of course, you could be building a new team from scratch. There's nothing. I'm starting from nothing. Uh, there could be that you're building a team around a vision holder, somebody who has an idea about the game. They really strongly feel like they know what they want to make, or maybe it's you're doing it around yourself. You could be expanding an existing team, or you could be fixing a dysfunctional team. That's not for today, but I think it's also like a part of this problem field. I realized when I was making this presentation that I can't actually cover all of the things I would like to, but still it's there. Also, sunsetting a team. I like to use this term sunsetting because it kind of, I don't know if you have watched any old like Western movies, but the hero goes into the sunset. They don't die. They don't go anywhere specific. They can come back. So kind of like I like to use this kind of term more than killing games or something like that. Okay, then if we move on to the building, um, firstly, of course, we need to define the team's purpose and vision. What is it that we are building, and where we want to be, and of course, kind of like I made these slides in a way that this also applies to even if you're not building a game team, but we can stick to games for today. Um, define the team's type and mode of operation. So what this means is that what is the environment in which the team operates? Is it just that you're building a game team that is going to make a single game? Fine. In my case, we have an extremely like a complex company where we have like 20 different teams operating in different professions, different fields. You have user acquisition, you have all kinds of things that they need to be able to collaborate with. So you need to understand what is the team's type and where does it operate. Map required roles. So who do you actually need? What do you need for what you're building for? And of course, the purpose for them as well. So maybe I need a lead designer. Maybe I need a lead programmer. Maybe I need whatever it is. So you need to understand all of these things and their purpose, and also seniority. So of course, if you're a startup, it might not be that you can actually fulfill all of the requirements you would like to have, but at least put the aimed things in there to figure out what the kind of ideal situation would be. And then, of course, you need your interview process. How do you actually pick who you're gonna kind of take in? It's different for every company. You need to figure out what are the things you are looking for. And then onboarding. When somebody comes in, how do they actually get started? What are the things they need to know? There's lots of things here. We've been working like at Fingersoft for a long time on this, that you actually have very specific goals when somebody comes in to learn how to do their job, learn how to become part of the team, things like that, and execute. Okay, so now because I was saying that the hiring is the most critical thing, I put in some stuff here about how do you actually pick the people you want to have. Now, the main things, of course, skills, experience, fit, and personality, and that is as a part of the whole team. And if you kind of like think about it, you realize that every person you add to the team changes the team. So basically, you should reevaluate every time you pick somebody, and then look at how things are going, and then kind of adjust your expectations of who you want, what skills should they have, what kind of experience, what do you need. And then I like to use this. This is complementary rather than additional. What this means is that you kind of like, you might think that you need the world's best programmers, and you focus on that, and then you have maybe you're hiring somebody, and this looks like very similar kind of person than the one you have. It might be better to still look for somebody who is a little bit different, has a little bit different strengths. It can be very easy and kind of like I don't know, nobody's going to blame you if you hire the kind of the standard person you thought you needed, but oftentimes you can get more if you think about it a little bit broadly. Then variety rather than similarity. So of course, having different kinds of people and different kinds of backgrounds, like, and this doesn't mean just like basic things like, you know, having like, I don't know, women, men, like whatever, but it also means backgrounds as culturally, life experiences, all kinds of things, because in making games we want to make these awesome, interesting things, and variety means that it's likely that the end product will be more interesting and kind of like catch more of the people you're wanting to catch to play it. And then some questions to consider beyond kind of the normal stuff you would ask in an interview. This is an interesting one, came up a while back. We were hiring into a role. Do we want this candidate because they are like us? Interesting question to ask, because you all know this feeling when you get along with somebody pretty much instantly. Okay, I like this person, but is that the reason why you want to hire them, or is there actually like other reasons to do that? It's not that it's bad. Like it can be a good thing, but just something to consider. Can this person challenge us in the right ways? Ever since the beginning of Fingersoft 10 years ago, we had this idea that when I'm hiring somebody, I would like them to be better than I am. And that's a nice way to think about it, is that like, can this person teach me something? Can they challenge me somehow to be a better developer, a better person? Are they excited to be in the team? Easy to overlook, but if you're interviewing somebody and they're not excited, they're just doing the thing. Is it what you want? And then interesting thing, what is their vision of how a great team functions, of what the job is? How do they see based on what they know? This is extremely interesting thing to ask from people, because they only know likely what they've maybe read from your website, maybe seen the application texts, things like that. So what do they actually see? And those are like those things you never get back. Once somebody is in, they very quickly become like aligned with the company, and if they fit in, then they become one of you. So it's a valuable thing to ask. Also, isolate evaluation results inside and between each round. This means that like when you have multiple interview rounds, if you have different processes, let's say like you have a test, things like that, it's good to always have the interviewers. Let's say you have 3 people maybe interviewing, to have them not share between them what they think during the process. So you do the interview, you ask your questions, you do the process, then you wait until everybody has done their own kind of personal let's say like if you want to put them in an order, like who would you rather pick, things like this, and then share them together in a meeting with all the interviewers, because that way you don't have this like psychological thing. Which happens is that for example, like if there's an authority in the room, like let's say I'm in the room, there's some more junior people, they might change their opinion on the fly just because I said something. And you want to hear the original ideas they had, their own ideas, and not the ones you're kind of feeding them. Really important. Okay, and then I think this is kind of like we go through the cases I had there from different perspectives that is unique to each of these cases. So if we're starting from nothing, this highlights the need for the purpose and the vision. I've done this, for example, when we built the Hill Climb Racing 3 team. We didn't have much. We knew that we wanted to make a new hill climb racing. We knew that we wanted to be bigger, better, like more interesting, like these things, but nothing concrete. So it's quite difficult to, of course, like go from there. But it's also a strength in these kinds of cases, because then you want people who will start building the vision. So it makes a difference. First 3 people, most important to get right. Every person is important to get right. But if you screw up in the beginning, that has the most implications, most damage, the kind of like end result. And of course, you remember making these games takes years. Our average so far is six years to make an like a kind of good kind of game, which actually makes revenue. So we're trying to get it down to a few years, but we'll see. So kind of like be especially careful with these. And like I was saying before, adjust the needs, expectations after every person, because then you want to include them in there as well. They might not have a lot to say if they just started and you're hiring somebody else next, but you still want to have them in there. It's like never hurts. And the next case was expanding a team. So you already have a team, you're expanding. It's an opportunity to re-clarify the team's purpose and vision. So what happens, like let's say live games, like we have, we've actually like recycled entire teams. So they go to other jobs in the company, and you have a completely new team who is building a game which already exists, like Hill Climb Racing. And so this is an opportunity to find a new purpose, find a new vision, because they should own the game. They should own the vision, the people who are coming in as well. So kind of good time to do this. Get a wide perspective from the team. So of course the team should be heavily involved in hiring their teammates. We use this. I use this term distributed hiring. So what it basically means that each team has the responsibility of the hiring. We have, of course, HR and a lot of people participate in the process, but first and foremost, the team has to be the one who owns these decisions. So what is it that they think they need? This is interesting because, of course, what you think you need is not actually always what you need. So something to consider. What is it that you think that would make the team better? Another question again, until you ask all the people in the team, and you might have to ask several times in different contexts, you kind of formulate this image of, okay, what is it that actually makes this team better? Sometimes it's simpler, sometimes it's harder, depends. And then create the shared understanding in the team of what aspects are the priorities. So you're never going to get exactly what you want, but what are the most important things you need, and then kind of go from that. Then we had the case of existing vision holder. I've done this as well recently with the Lego. Well, recently, 3 years ago, but so Lego Hill Climb Racing, we had a very strong vision holder in the company who wanted to make that game. So then in this case, of course, it's very much about working with them to find out what kind of team they think they should have. And then immediately don't let them dictate too much, because again, you think it's like the world will be perfect if you make all the decisions, but it doesn't actually work that way. You get shitty results if you make all the decisions. At least I believe that you get the best results when you have the people kind of like collaborate and communicate a lot. And then same thing as in the previous ones, include the new members immediately, basically, when you continue building the team. Yeah, so those were the special cases. Then if we go to kicking off the teamwork, so the starting months are critical, of course, for every individual, because that is when they form their idea of how this company works, how this team works. So kind of like it's important to even, we use this where we try to ask the person that, hey, be especially vocal if you notice something weird, something that shouldn't be done this way, something that is wrong, because they have a unique perspective when they come in. They view the company, view the team. They see things you don't see because you're in there. So they kind of have this outside the box. But that goes away, like in, let's say, 6 months, then that disappears. So kind of it's good to listen to those. Ensure safe kind of curiosity, discovery, giving and getting feedback. It's like if you don't feel like you can ask stupid questions, then that's quite bad. The stupid questions often are actually very smart ones. Fresh perspective, I already went through this point. And then failure is inevitable. So that is actually what we use for reflection and improvement. So always when something fails, it's a good time to take a look at it neutrally and see like what went wrong. Don't blame people. That doesn't help anything. It's always about what did we do, how did we do it, why, and then how could we do it better the next time. But if there's repeated similar mistakes, this is a red flag. And then it's always that we need to figure out why this happened again, and like fix that as well. It might be many things, but yeah. Then culture of ownership, and this goes down to features. This goes down to any kind of activity you have to do to make the game work. Uh, like this is something where I believe that there should always be a name attached to things. So let's say there's a big feature in the game. Who is the owner of that feature? Who do you go to talk to if you have something to ask or something to, talk about or have ideas? Uh, and this also kind of like creates this attachment as well, because you own something about it, you care about it, you're likely to also want to make it as good as you can. Yeah, I think those were the points. Then the fun part, of course, this is kind of like, of course, difficult topic because these are about people. So I can't have too many details, but we've done many. Freely admit I've done big mistakes, many of them. But this is kind of like an easy one to show, not upkeeping a high enough bar for recruitment. So because we have this distributed system for hiring, it can easily go in a way where if a producer, for example, is hiring and they are kind of feeling desperate that, hey, I need to get this done, this is taking too long, and then they lower the bar for what they would normally do, and don't actually wait for the right candidate. So easy mistake to make. But if you can afford to wait, then you should, when you feel like, okay, now we're here. But of course, like I said previously, nobody's perfect, so you're never gonna get exactly what you want. But if you kind of like are lowering your standards, then that might be a good thing. Of course, another aspect is you can give people opportunities. We've done this. Even then, it's not that you're lowering your bar. You are choosing to give somebody an opportunity where they have right kind of maybe like background, but not in the, let's say they're not in games. We have one guy, producer for Hill Conversion 2, had never done any games, and he's done extremely well. So like he had similar experience from other industries, but no creative industries. Yeah, it's painful, but has to be done right. Not doing transparent and intense evaluation during trial. We've done this. It's basically, it goes back to the expectation management. Somebody comes in, they start first day, or even before, we'd like to do it already in the interviews, is that the 6 months are going to be an actual trial. We're going to see how you do. We're going to track you. We're going to talk to you, and we're going to tell you how you're doing. And then if things don't go the way where they should, then it's an honest discussion that, hey, we knew all along this wasn't going well, and let's not go this route because it's not good for either of us. So kind of like this transparent, open attitude is the best way to go. Not reacting to signs of problems quickly and effectively. As the kind of like, if you are in a growing company, it kind of tends to be that you react to problems that you see, react to problems that seem the biggest. Sometimes things go unnoticed, but it's always like I said, if you have repeating issues, then you need to go in there, talk to everybody, find out what's actually wrong, fix it as quickly as you can, because things tend to get worse with people if you don't like fix these situations. And then not having good enough career paths and personal development support. We're getting to the size where actually people need to have visibility on their career. So we were just a scrappy startup for the first 5 years, but then now after 10 years, kind of people expect that they know that, hey, what is the next step? How do I get to be a senior? How do I get to be a lead? Whatever it is they want to do. So we haven't had that, and we've had problems because of it. Now it's a high priority item. We're gonna fix this year, so people actually have a visibility on how things work. Yeah, I think that was the core of it for today. I don't know if we have time for questions.
Ville, we don't have, it's been 30 minutes,
Yep.
but I would like everyone online. We have a big audience watching online. And for the audience here as well, you can get Ville at the Fingersoft stand. And for those watching online, can you please post these questions to the Fingersoft stand?
Yep. Yeah, our people are here. I'm gonna be here for a while as well. So
Yes.
yeah,
For
thank you.
those watching online. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ville.